see if that's done it. Hang on. Hello and welcome to a gaming conversation with friends. We're finally live. We've worked out how to do it.
Are we though? Are we?
Well, on my phone it says we are. And VJ's commented in the chat that the stream appears to be live. It does. I tested it and we go. We're still live. Yeah, there we go. We're live. Right. Welcome to a gaming conversation with friends. We couldn't do a live reaction yesterday because I fell over. My back is still bloody hurts now, but it's better than it was, kind of. It's just gonna have a conversation about Xbox Bethesda Showcase, and if anyone watched any other showcase, any games they like look of as well. But welcome, RemovableSanity. Thanks for joining us again.
Much appreciated. Nice to obviously be back again. Hopefully the back injury won't keep you from all the naughty things that you kind of do over the weekends. And yes, I did watch the showcase. So there are a few games that are potentially I was quite happy looking at watching. There was also some disappointments, but overall I think it was pretty good. But I see you're already showing off one of them as it is now, the South of Midnight.
I can always skip back to them. I can skip through them, and they've got separate trailers as well. Some of them have. But yeah, VJ, welcome. Did you check out the showcase yesterday?
I did. My voice is not quite where it needs to be, so I'm putting the onus on Removable today to do all the talking.
Never going to be a problem. Like I ever have anything not to say. Ever.
Let's just tweet it out. We are live now. Just giving it a tweet out. But yeah,
I don't know. These people, you should have had. You need a social manager, don't you? You need a PR manager.
I do. But no, it's just good to have a chat with the two of you. Because obviously there's been about 2,000 different showcases reacting to this. Tons and tons of them.
Oh god, yeah.
But,
yeah.
But I mean, the showcase as a whole, I mean, I think it was, despite no Gears of War, I believe it was one of the best showcases they've had in years. To be honest, it's got me excited about the future of Xbox. It has.
I would rephrase that saying that. I would rephrase that by saying it's been years in the making.
Well, it probably has been years in the making, because they're now starting to. A lot of these games, although some of them they've shown ain't coming out soon, some of them are, some of them ain't. They're now starting to see the fruits of the labour of the games that they've been releasing.
Well, some would say years in the paying, not the making.
Yeah. It was just a lot of people. Obviously, you always get negativity, though, don't you? But I generally, I thought the show was really, really good. But yeah, you are right, VJ. It probably was years in the making.
Well, they what was it, 2017 and 18? Removable might know better than me, or both of you, when they acquired at least half a dozen, if not a dozen, independent.
I think it was 2018.
Yeah, around that time when they announced them. Is that right? And
yep.
Obviously, some of them 5 years on are relatively really showing us what we've already said, that to set up a studio in order for it to deliver it on its potential and its promise, and some of them definitely did that in yesterday's showcase.
Yeah, they definitely did. It's I was actually excited for a showcase, because I thought this year they're gonna really show some
knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to temper my expectations when it came to Gears, because I didn't think there was much chance. But I was right; they didn't show anything. But I wasn't disappointed as such, because they put on such a good show. I mean, I think Fable's still a fair few years away, but I think they just wanted to show that off. They did. But what's that actor? I think he's very fitting. What's his name?
He was
fitting.
actually, I can't think of his name, but he's been in quite a few things. He's famous for the IT crowd. My brain's going on his actual name, but
he's very fitting though for
he's
Fable.
got that. He has got that superb dry British humour that works wonders with it, and it definitely hit the British humour aspect to it. Very well done for that. But it was another CGI trailer. But
now there was a few seconds of gameplay.
This is the question.
Yeah.
This is the question. Is this? Yeah, I think to be honest, I think that is like
difficult to say
QTE.
because they were mixing it.
I think there's a little bit of QTE in there. When you see the person being dragged around and dragged a bit, I don't know if that was QTE or is it just a cinematic trailer.
In-game footage is claiming here. In-game footage, that says. I'm not convinced
if that's
by
true, it's
incredible.
It's a good likeness. I mean,
I would say that's Unreal Engine if that's what Unreal 5. If that's what. If that really is if that really is in game, that's incredible. That is.
But I'm happy. I'm happy that it's going to come out soon. I'll probably end up playing it, especially if this character is in it, because I absolutely love him. He's pretty much in everything he's done. He's generally a really funny, dry human character. But I'm looking forward to that. Must admit, it's I just like to see more. That's what I want to see. That's the only thing I want to see more of it.
I wonder if that's in Unreal. If that really is in game like they claim it is, that looks like Unreal.
I think Unreal, we're pretty much familiar with the fact that it's being used in Hollywood, right?
I think that's big friendly giant. Very cool.
The Mandalorian, I believe, uses it, and several others. It's just not as well advertised. So what you're seeing in the pre-rendered videos, which is still technically CG, because CG just basically stands for computer graphics, but because there's, when you're playing the actual video game, I mean, you've seen it before, even with Starfield, right? Some of the early videos and everything that were shown in game or whatever, rendered within engine. When cutscenes or vignettes are rendered, you remember they swap out assets, they swap out textures. There's no need for AI, so the scene that you're seeing can be manipulated to its maximum amount of resolution and fidelity, and with added visual effects. But then when you obviously switch to playing the game itself, the LODs, the level of detail on the textures, the characters, the poly count is significantly reduced. And if you want a really good example of that, Final Fantasy VII Remake does an incredible job of transitioning between cutscenes, real-time cutscenes, and in-game gameplay almost seamlessly. But if you've got a really keen eye, you can notice the difference between the assets. It's very subtle. So I think what Removable's saying is spot on, in the sense that we'd like to see more, not just to understand the nature of the game that we potentially may be able to play, because it's extremely promising, especially in terms of the impeccable presentation of a lot of the headlining studios over at Xbox, which Playground Games has always been one, and Obsidian, they've been my top two for me personally, above and beyond most of the other studios that they have. And for me, it's really a case of we know what Unreal can do, but the more you push it to do something specific, as we're seeing with Starfield, it will have an impact on either frame rate or resolution.
There's always something to counter it, isn't there? There's always a compromise. That was the word. Was a compromise.
Yeah, I just want to say it's not a negative. I do believe it is a design choice. And for me, is that when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS5, not only were they able to improve the textures, the draw distance, the visual effects, and the frame rate, it was because I played it previously on the PS4. There was a difference for sure, and then it brings to my mind the fact that then pro consoles in the year or two or whatever will definitely be welcomed for those that want to experience games at the highest level,
highest fidelity and highest frame rate, and
yeah. But for me personally, it doesn't matter, because if the game is good, I'll play it once on 30 frames at 1440p, and then if the game was worth its weight in gold, I'll play it again with all those features that enhance the experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So what we're seeing here, what you said, Mr. Stubbs, at the beginning, it was an impeccable presentation. Not everything, but because each to his own, in terms of Removable had the games that he preferred, you probably had games that you liked, but me, it wasn't really about how impeccable the presentation is, because I know everybody's going to talk about this game and that game and how it compares to other games and other shows that I've feasibly had. But from my perspective is that when I look at Xbox, ultimately this has been years in the making, and I just want to quantify that, because for me, when they put this out, that they've geared themselves up for one thing and one thing only, and that's explosive commercial growth. And that is something maybe we can discuss at the end of the show, because I think that fundamentally that's how I look at it, and I see the presentation as a piece or a facet of the overall goal, rather than the be all and end all is in terms of what everybody else is focusing on, which is quite, I don't mean to be rude, but quite naive, right? But anyway, I'll just stop there before I bore everyone to tears.
Just do some shout outs. Welcome to Indie Gaming Chat, a friendly pest. Web Dave, thanks for coming by, and Fimber, thanks for stopping in. I've turned the audio up a bit, Indie Gamer, thanks for that. But yeah, no, I mean, overall it was a good showcase. I mean, sorry, Removable. Is this like saying, shout out to the chat to diminish everything that I'd said? No, I just don't like to ignore the chat.
Just to diminish everything I'd
no, you made some very
I
good
want
points.
an impartial view from Removable.
No, you made some very good points, VJ. Just a lot of podcasts ignore people in the chat. I don't want people to feel like they're ignored. That's all. They do. But no, it's very good points. I mean, I mean, I love the show overall, but I feel there was bits missing. Not Gears. I just feel that because Xbox showcases set up over the years, they've set a precedent, and normally they're known for showing quite a few good indie games. They did, but any ones they really showed generally were under the Xbox brand. They didn't really bother this time round. I feel that the show could have been better if they had a few more indie games popped in there. But I did enjoy the showcase.
That's life in general, isn't it?
True. That's true.
In all walks of life, that
exactly.
You can always be better. You can always improve. But there are very few that can attain that goal, because that's just the way humans are structured, right? And so if we'd always reach the pinnacle of what it is that we're trying to achieve, then there'd be no further to go. So, but I think that even before this event, we have an abundance. This is just showcasing more future promise and what to expect in the years to come.
When I see this trailer here,
yep,
I thought we were getting the Mandalorian game. When I seen it, I thought that's the Mandalorian game. Everyone
okay, this is just a trailer. It doesn't. I tried to work out what is this game.
This is Star Wars Outlaws.
But I mean, what is this game? Is it a CGI FMV game? Is it an open world game? Is it an RPG? Is it a?
It was shown tonight on the.
Yeah, there's a Ubisoft gameplay reveal for this today, I believe.
Yeah, it's already happened.
Oh right,
it's already happened. It has. But when I seen this bit, when I seen the Mandalorian, I thought this is a Mandalorian game, and it wasn't, obviously. It was Star Wars Outlaws, but I do think it looks good. I've never really played any Star Wars games, but I thought this looked pretty cool. I did, to be fair.
Well, for me, it's Ubisoft putting their. Do you remember they bought? I forgot the name. They bought a CGI studio in Toronto. Was it in Canada? Somewhere in Canada. I think it was Toronto several years ago. I believe put this together.
When you have a question, VJ, Luke Steele always appears with the answer. He says it's an open world, multiple open world action adventure game. He always appears with the answer. Luke Steele out of nowhere. Welcome, Luke. Thanks for popping in. But it looks good. And it's out. Hang on. It's about to tell you. I can't remember. Next year. I imagine it's on multiple platforms. I don't imagine it's just.
Yeah, I'd
Xbox.
expect so, yes.
They all do that, though. They always cut out the other platforms. It's a thing that all the show, most of the shows do. But it looks very impressive. It does. Tell you one thing, because if you ever heard me over the years on podcasts and all sorts, I was never ever sold on Starfield. On this show, it's made me want to play Starfield. It's turned it into my most anticipated game. I believe the game's got so much potential. It's so much depth. It has so much depth and detail. Do not bring up that 30 FPS crap that they're talking about online. That's annoying. That is.
This is Bethesda, and so I'm going to stick with.
I understand. I understand.
I mean, they said the same thing. I mean, just point. It's a running narrative from Bethesda. You can do everything, and then you play the game. It's like, no, you can't. So, I'm sorry. I've been burnt way too many times from Rod Hat, saying you can do anything you want to, and it's like, not really.
I see, but end of the day, you got.
I mean, if you can, superb. But I've just
there's nothing to lose this time, really. You got Game Pass. You don't have to buy it.
But that's a bonus.
Yeah.
In my eyes, that's a bonus. That's not. This is Bethesda here, and their games do come with a horrendous lot of bugs and issues and problems, which then the modding community kind of basically fix for them, and then they take on board that and kind of use it. And they also kind of overpromise and don't always deliver on that promise. If it is superb, I'll be very happy with it. I mean, I looked at the showcase and it was a very good showcase. It was explained a lot of the details around the game. It explained a lot of the details in terms of what I would say the exploration, the building, the ports, the ships modifications. Looks great. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because it does, but I am still going to hold a slight reservation because I've just been bitten and burnt too many times with it.
Fair enough. It is. It's just looks really good to me. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Bethesda games. A lot of their games don't draw me in, but this one did. I'll give it a go. It does look very good. They've done a very good job at selling it to me at the showcase and the in-depth bit. But I'll be looking forward to seeing more information on it.
Well, they should be doing a good job in selling it to you, because Phil Spencer and Xbox and Microsoft spent $7 billion for the privilege to have it on Game Pass, right, exclusively, as well as So, and if you read the email, you've got to look at it less like a consumer, and you've got to look at what's actually being said, and that's why what Removable's saying is complete sense. Because even Pete Hines said, I'm really proud of the team because we spent months trying to put that footage together. So that tells you how desperate they were to make sure that they sell it to you correctly. And if you're a consumer, they've done their job, especially to someone like myself and Stubbs. I have to be honest here, Removable, because I've never played a Bethesda game.
What annoyed me though, VJ,
so we're kind of the uninitiated, but That's why when you made your comment, when you was going, I was going to say in my mind to Stubbs, don't say anything because it's important to listen to what Removable's saying because he is the initiated in this sense. And even though the game
I've
has
played pretty much all of them, and it's just I've been there through every single problem that they have. And the trouble is, once the games are sorted, once the games are at their peak performance, they are an amazing games. This is not, I'm not arguing that kind of concept. It does take a while for that to get there. And that's why I'm wary from it.
I'm not being wary. I'm going to go in hyped and see if I like it.
See, now that's the thing. Yeah, if it was me, I'd just temper my expectations.
Nope, I'm not.
See, this is where I'll invoke be cautiously optimistic, which is I probably think is probably where we should be.
Most gamers are always optimistic, cautiously optimistic anyway. They just don't realise they're doing it. Most gamers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we just go around and pick our top 3 for the show for each of us and why, maybe.
Yeah, just do some shout outs as well, some more people. I don't know if I've shouted out Back from the Dead. Sorry if I haven't already. Paul AFC, welcome. War Stew, welcome. And Warwick, welcome. I mean, I will say one thing because obviously he's going to be playing it on PC, Starfield, at 60 frames per second. I'll be trying it on PC and Xbox, but I don't know if it's so much the Xbox can't handle it. It's what he did. Todd said in that interview was the Series X actually can do 60 frames per second with the game, but they didn't want to lose.
Yeah, it can do 60 frames a second, but the question is how often and how regular.
Yeah, they didn't want to lose.
So the case,
they keep using this word for fidelity. They keep using.
So yeah, it's going to be one of those things that it's like, and depending on also because this is like, I think this is open world. It's semi-open planet world. That's a lot of computing power there to do that. And the closest one, I know people harp onto it, that will probably give you the closest experience, that sort of vastness, would be No Man's Sky, and maybe Elite Dangerous, in terms of the sheer vastness and computing power that it goes through. And they struggle. So, and this, I would say, probably looks a little bit more polished as well. So, I can fully understand that, the 30 frames per second. And you know, for me, if it just plays fine, if it's fun, I'm not going to be one of those guys who's like, oh, do you know what? If it's not 60 frames a second, I'm not going to play it. I'm like, no, it's enjoyable. I'm going to play it.
There was a lot of people like that. It's like Indie Game. The Indie Game was right. He said, it's okay to be hyped, excited. What he means, as long as you don't get outraged if it disappoints you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I won't because it's not a game I expected to be excited about. This show sold it to me. I mean, I have Game Pass, so if I don't turn out to like it, I'm not going to outrage on Twitter and say I didn't like it. But the reason I did moan a bit about Redfall was because I didn't harp on about it much compared to a lot of people, was because in comparison, Redfall felt like a game with all the bones missing. Very, very different that was. But it got brought up in that Todd interview. And he dodged past it quite quick. He did. But he had nothing to do with that game. But I just hope it will be a great game, because it seems to me that they have got content planned for after.
They do have. I mean, Fallout 76. The debacle on that was quite large, to be honest with you. But in the end, they did kind of get it to where it needs to be, and that's the thing with Bethesda. They will get it there. It's just, how long are you willing to appreciate or take for that to get there?
But so, I think at the same time, Removable, if the presentation for everything that was on show was impeccable for me, I thought it was a really great show. And then what you've got in terms of the show in itself in its entirety, rather than just Starfield, is in terms of its premise, in terms of what's potentially afforded to Game Pass subscribers, because that tawdry splash screen was, I think it was displayed more often than I would have liked, but that's just me. But what it does in terms of affording subscribers that are subscribed to Game Pass, above all, and what we appreciate above all, is what we often say on the show, is choice. And that choice has been accentuated in terms of what we saw, which was future promise. And that promise, in terms of what is coming imminently, which is obviously, I think, Forza, is it motorsport? I don't play those racing games anymore, but then you've got obviously Starfield. And then you had prowess, right? Another P, premise, prowess, and promise. Sorry. And you've got the visual prowess,
What do
right?
you think to this,
where
VJ?
if you looked at the visual prowess of the games, everything from Fable to Starfield, which is an engine which has been completely redeveloped for this particular game, whether it was in-engine rendered cutscenes or whatever, we've all witnessed, as I've said before, how Unreal can aid in helping creators display their vision, whether it's cinematic, full on in terms of CGI and TV shows, or video games, depending on your budget, fundamentally, right? And what it is that you're trying to produce. But for me, it all comes down to, we saw everything in terms of visuals. We already saw in potential of what the gameplay might be. But the only thing that we didn't get to experience, which we can't right now, is the design in terms of gameplay. And that, as you're saying, I think, forgive me, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think that's what you're trying to say, that question still remains completely unanswered. But that's what we're anticipating. So, and then the thing is, even if Starfield is or isn't what it is meant to be for you personally as an individual, you've got so many other games across so many other different systems that you can enjoy right now. Because the first thing I did this morning was download the Final Fantasy 16 demo. And I watched bits of the 4.5 hour presentation in Japanese. Well, it was translated a bit by Koji Fox, but just to deep dive into all aspects of not of the game, but like in terms of how the music was created, etc., 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 and the inspiration behind it and all, and the people involved in the project. So that's what I want to mention. I didn't mean to say I'll sort of do a tawdry approach to what was your top 3 games. I'll just go, if you don't mind. Is that I really like Obsidian. I played Outer Worlds. I know what to expect from Outer Worlds 2, potentially, because I watched the no-clip documentary in terms of everything that they wanted to do that couldn't because of time, budget, and restraint of tech. And Avowed is something that I'm looking forward to. And I could kind of feel myself playing it. You could see that the music and the gameplay design was perhaps by the same team or the same production team that was on Outer Worlds. Hellblade, I still don't know what to expect, because again, it was heavy cutscene and heavy rendering and heavily focused.
I think if you've played the first one, it's very much more than that, I think.
Yeah, they've hinted. Well, not they haven't. They've actually come out and said, look, we're trying to enhance that to an
it's more of that with something else. But I think if you've got the basics there, you'll kind of have a good idea.
When you fundamentally try to enhance your gameplay and try to take it out into the stratosphere in terms of what they're saying, I think that's fundamentally what they've said. Is it can be good or bad, right? So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. And then there was obviously, I think there was only 2 other games there, which if you ask me, would I go and pay for these games? Starfield, I appreciate, is in Game Pass, and that is really appreciated. Avowed, and I think the other one for me personally was Like a Dragon.
On the screen right now,
which was Like a Dragon. So
really, this one here, you're not. This one was kind of stole. I was like, poof.
This one's a new IP. It's called Metamorph. I can't read it actually. Metamorph.
Which game? Sorry, which game is that? Removable.
Memento. Is it Memento?
33 Immortals. This is
Mempho reFantazio.
That was it. Yeah.
It's a Japanese word.
This one on the screen, effectively, is the one that I looked at. As like, this looks like,
Not this. Not this.
Up my alley.
The next one. It's a new
IP. I'll tell you what it is.
Atlas.
I'll tell you what it is. Removable. I was saying this to Stubs Gaming. Is that when I played when I see now Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 3 Reload, P3, whatever, right, and some of these other games that are built on along the same premise and engine and structure, is that 150 hours or 160, whatever the hour. I mean, I think I put in a lot more than that into Persona. I'm kind of personified already, so I don't.
You don't know. Yeah, I can understand it. Well, you got to look at it this way. It's
I'm knackered, basically. I want to play something.
I will say now that there's a lot of RPGs that have shown. That's a lot of hours in content there. So just even Starfield alone, you are going to end up having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
The same thing for the one that we're watching now. That's going to be hundreds and hundreds of hours. There is a lot of content there. So for Starfield to be on Game Pass, that's a lot of hours you're getting. I wouldn't say for free, but you're getting technically for free. You know, it's a lot of stuff there to keep you entertained, and it will keep you entertained. And they've definitely brought out a much more varied selection. I said it was not. I was missing some of the indie games. That was kind of a bit of a damper to things. But if you're, I would say, if you're kind of someone who keeps an eye on the indie games anyway, you know, you've got an idea of what's coming out, and there's a fantastic selection of those coming out.
All the showcases, there's stacks of games, indie games.
Oh yeah, there is some amazing ones coming out. So it's the biggest thing I've got the problem with at the moment is I don't know if I'm going to get time to play them all.
Well, plus for your reviewing games, it's going to be difficult for you. The amount of games you review as well.
Yeah, that's another thing. I try. Yeah. It does kind of. Well, no, it's a privilege. Let's face it, it's a privilege to review games. In that regards, I'm not going to moan about it because it is a privilege to do so. It's just that I do like to have the odd game I can just kind of not talk about or not play, just play myself. Like for instance, the DLC for Wulong's going to come out soon, and Elden Ring. And also Cyberpunk DLC for Cyberpunk. I mean,
did you complete Cyberpunk to start with?
I've got about 3/4 all the way through, and I'm kind of glad I stopped there because I don't know where this goes. I don't know if this plays into your choices of the first game or not. So
I completed the game. I don't know if I mentioned to you, Removal. I think you asked me the question. Forgive me if I haven't. But like some games do you the privilege of saying, "Hey, look, after you go beyond this point, you won't be able to turn back. Basically, you'll be making fundamental choices
That's
that
right.
may determine the ending that you receive." I can't remember if Cyberpunk has multiple endings, but I did finish the game, and but yeah, I think they've kind of built that in where there's a point you can save, and then you progress, and you may or may not impact the DLC. I don't know. I really enjoyed Cyberpunk, and I actually thought that the bugs and the glitches in the game. It'd been a long time
Played
since
into it.
Yeah, because it'd been a long time since I'd burst out laughing playing a video game, and I actually thought it accentuated the experience. Like, that's just me. Maybe I'm just like crazy or something, but I thoroughly enjoyed them. I really, really did. They weren't. I know people are sort of very pretentious. Oh no, it can't be game breaking. Oh no, it's got to be absolutely realistic. And no game is ultra realistic. Come on, it's a video game at the end of the day. Through and through. It's just, are you having fun? And those bugs. Yeah, I remember I took some photos and sent them to Mr. Tushi, and just as I was playing, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Cyberpunk, and the DLC looks interesting. But again, if you remember when they first revealed in 2013 or 2014 when they released the trailer for Cyberpunk, and everyone was wondering, is that going to be in game? Is that just CG? Is that game? Again, it was all rendered, but the final game, used lower resolution models and textures and visual effects because they have to be. And that's why I think when you look at is the disparity the right word? I'm not sure between trailers for Starfield and then in game, and now you're looking at Fable and what it potentially may or may not look like in game, and what that effect that has on performance if you're so inclined that way. I think that's important, and that's why
the in-game. I'm always dubious with the in-game wording for me, because in-game can mean anything. In-game FMV trailer. In-game CGI QTE.
Yeah.
It can mean anything. It doesn't actually mean...
It blurs the lines of what they actually mean. It makes a better video package to give you a mixture of all of it. It does.
Exactly. And if it's... It leaves... What's it called? It's almost like... it leaves them open for people not to say, "Oh, it's not. This was nowhere in like this." It's like, well, it did say it's in game, just didn't say what it was in game.
If that's true about Fable and it was totally gameplay only by the developers saying it, then that is going to be one hell of a graphical masterpiece. That is going to be, if that is true.
Well, again, it could be a FMV QTE sequence.
Yeah, I would love it to be that. If it was that graphical, it'd be amazing. Finally have a console where you can see the power of the machine being used. That'd be cool.
And if it's just a simple QTE, it's most things. Go on.
Sorry, Removal. I think we have to go on the past, right? We can guess all day long, but I've seen enough now of games like Yakuza, the games like even Starfield. As a more recent example, there's a few others as well. Even Horizon Forbidden West, where when you see in-game rendered sequences or vignettes, close-ups, etc., they can swap out textures, swap out the quality of the models, and you can't even notice it. And even in Final Fantasy Remake and even Rebirth, and you can see that there is a distinct difference. So what I would say is that the proof is always in the pudding. So once we get our hands on it, we'll technically see what these games are capable of. And there's an Unreal 5 game coming out this year, right? In October. What was it called? Lords of the Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've watched some of the, if you really, really, really want to know, there was a video that they'd put out in terms of pausing the screen, zooming in, so you could see the level of details and the textures that they'd scanned in, etc. But then if you actually watch the gameplay video, it doesn't look as good because you're zoomed out. You see, you're not, your eyeballs aren't sort of glued to the surface of the texture. So they're able to do that. So, and even you're seeing these characters talking on screen and so on and so forth, but their backs are normally facing you in the game, right? So the animation rig for the face doesn't need to be there. See?
Exactly. So yeah. Again, it's not going to stop me from enjoying it. It's just one of those things. No. I'm tempering my expectations.
Right, I'll tell you one thing that did look beautiful, and it will be. I'm not a big rate. I'm quite crap at these games, but the Forza motorsport game looked incredible. It's on screen now. That's really hitting the mark. I think that's really going to hit a new standard for the Forza franchise. Obviously, Motorsport and Horizon are both different games, but it looks incredible. It does. I'll be trying that one. I won't play it for long because I'm quite crap at racing games, but if it's in Game Pass, I might as well give it a go. But it does look very, very good. It does graphically. I'm hoping it looks, because I think they spent quite a long time making this game, because I believe they rebuilt the engine and everything. They have really worked on it hard.
Yeah,
they have.
I think all development studios are having to do that, right? Rebuild their engines. Well, not everyone. Insomniac aren't. They're doing incremental improvements to their engine. And it just depends on the game you're making, the audience that you're targeting, and the timing of the game's release, and what the threshold is again for your audience, right? And you can see. Do you remember the Batman games from Rocksteady? They were using Unreal 3, then they went to Unreal 4, and everyone thought, are they gonna go to Unreal 4. They didn't. They took Unreal 3 and they built like their own 3.5 version. So because they were confident in fundamentally in the game that they were making, rather than the technology that was powering it. And if you want a really good example, or the best example in the industry, of a company using tech which is not cutting edge, perhaps 5 years behind, but able to produce content which is fun. Well, I know it's each your own. It's your own power of observation and your inclination towards what you enjoy is Nintendo, right? Because I'm playing a game right now in 1080p. It has VSync issues. It has slowdown. It runs at 30 frames per second, but it's by far one of the best experiences that I've had playing a video game in the last year or so. And so I don't know if that helps answer the question. So visual fidelity and realism is, sort of overcoming the mountain, which was always been the uncanny valley, they call it.
Yeah.
It's getting there, but it's not the be all and end all of a great video game. And you only have to ask the indie gamer, right, what he thought his favorite game was. I'm sure that Immortals 33 or 33 Immortals would be high up there. And you only have to ask. There's a guy I know. He's got a funny looking face, but he reviews lots and lots of indie games on his channel. So I forgot
who that is.
No idea.
Luke's brought something interesting up though. He said that Forza did look super good. However, the real-time global illumination is only available on PC, not on the console.
Yeah, so because if you watch the Lords of the Fallen tech breakdown, they said, look, we're using spotlights because we have to use global illumination sparingly because of the cost of overhead to our processor. And they do it in their breakdown. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember Removable? When they were showing Lords of the Fallen.
I know they were showing something, yeah.
Yeah, and it's using sparsely because it has a massive overhead.
Yeah, it's the same thing, ironically, with what's it called, ray tracing, and it is just generally the power consumption and the unit. I think it's the software consumption or the power consumption or something like that. It tanks other things, and so it's a catch-22. How much do you utilize of it? Without it tanking your frame rate. I kind of always bring it up. I'm sure they did one of the I think it was actually Digital Foundry who did it, and they did I think it was a Minecraft test with full ray tracing. I mean, literally full ray tracing in all its glory, and they had one of the most powerful PCs, and it tanked the FPS to under 20, and it was just like, there's no way in hell we're going to be able to utilize this until we get more powerful hardware, or at least AI or cloud software that's going to help out in some regards. And it's the same thing. It's once you get to that higher fidelity, something has to give, and until they work their way around it,
that's right.
That could be it, But is it going to stop you from enjoying the game?
No,
probably not.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to fundamentally what we couldn't experience was the gameplay, and more fundamental than that was as the actual design and the gameplay loop.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. There's games that I really like. There's games that I wish they had shown something, or maybe they're keeping it. But maybe they're putting some of these ones that we're hoping to see, another time. I don't know. I enjoyed it. There is enough games there that keep me interested for a very long time.
You may know the answer to this, Removable or Mr. Stubbs, and can't get my head around it. But was Like a Dragon? This is probably where Luke will jump in. Was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth a different game to the Kiryu-san's adventure, The Man Who Erased His Name, that was shown at the Sony showcase? Are they two separate video games?
I thought they were two different games. I'm sure Luke will pipe up and tell you. He's normally very clued up on it.
So I'm ready for another.
It means there's tons of games in the Yakuza now.
Yeah, no, it's just that Like a Dragon and the Yakuza titles, they're not hundreds of hours.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know,
different
you can,
game, but it just says
and
it's a different
Judgment
game.
as well. You can finish those games in 30 to 50 hours, and that's a good time frame. I mean, I'm playing Zelda right now. I'm fundamentally enjoying it, and in contrast to to MechWarrior 5, which I think I got over 300 hours in. MechWarrior was a fantastic game, but the contrast between the two games is quite phenomenal. And I'm really glad I played MechWarrior because I'll tell you the best
You
thing.
still
And
haven't
I
got
know,
the DLC yet. You haven't got anything half of that.
I know, and I know this may sound really strange, but do you know what the best thing I saw at this show was? Not a video game per se, but something that was embedded into the game, and that after playing MechWarrior 5, and the user interface is fantastic there, don't get me wrong, but the user interface that's been created for Starfield was, to me, looks phenomenal. Really clean, really precise, really well managed. The not just the relatability, but the visual, the way it's visually structured, given the amount of systems that are available within this game in terms of things that you can do, and the sub layers and context and so on and so forth. I thought it was one of the best UI systems I'd seen created since the one I've enjoyed in The Last of Us. I thought it was quite phenomenal. And it's not that I play millions of games. It's just, yeah, I really appreciated the user interface that's been created for that game.
There you go. I found it at the game. There you go. That should be it. The Yakuza game you're on about.
No, stuff. Oh, this one. Oh, yeah. No,
this
this was the. Yeah, I know this one. This one we saw yesterday. It was the one from the Sony show.
The Sony show.
But it's nice to see Ichiban has his own adventure as well.
I mean, Ichiban was, when they brought him in, I didn't know how I was going to react to him, but I tell you what, he is a fantastic character. They did well with him.
Yes, very good. Fantastic. I really enjoyed Like a Dragon. I finished that as well. I thoroughly enjoyed that game.
When you say turn-based, because you tried to explain it to me, because I was playing Yakuza Kiwami 2, is it like the combat? You say it's turn-based. Do you mean like the way you fight in Persona 5, that kind of fighting, with magical powers and stuff? Do you mean that kind of fighting? Is that what you mean by turn-based?
Who's the question to?
To you, VJ. You know, when you said to me like a dragon is turn-based, whereas Yakuza Mainline, the old games, are a brawl beat-em-up game. Is that what you mean?
Turn-based is it's like your Final Fantasy.
Like Persona 5 as well? Like that?
It's turn-based, yes.
Okay, right. I get it now.
Yeah, the other games, like the Yakuza Mainline games, they're real-time action games, you see. And what Final Fantasy VII Remake does, it actually merges
Blurs
the two.
that. Yeah,
and it does it I've played it through twice to tell you everything you need to know. And I was slowing down the new trailer, the Rebirth trailer, and it's interesting that I think they've made a couple of changes, and I'm really curious to see what how that improves. Well, I suppose that's their goal, right? Remove that they're trying to improve and whatnot.
Keeps improving, yeah. Because I actually like the Final Fantasy 15, the very first iteration of it. But I think
is this what Rutland looks like?
Yeah, exactly.
This is Rutland. Look, there's Lord Stubbs there. The Earl of Rutland.
No. It's annoying how much you lot mention what the county you live in. Look at this.
Oh.
Well, you can't tell people where you really live. You just got to say Rutland because that's the closest to you.
Lord of California. How are we doing?
I'm not a Lord of anywhere.
Lord of Jersey's in chat as well.
What do you mean, Lord of Jersey? He's second in line for the throne.
He is.
And I saw Luke. If he can put in the chat if he's played the FF16 demo, that would be interesting. And just so he knows that I've got 60. I've just done 60, the 60th shrine in Zelda. So I'm halfway through the shrines now in Zelda. They're phenomenal. So, yeah, much better than the first game. But anyway, sorry. Please continue.
The question I suppose is going to be is there was one that was, what was it called? There was one that I thought that you would like, and it looked really strange, but really fantastic at the same time. It's really my sort of game, and it's another Japanese game. Oh God! It had loads of flowers. It was all flower based, plant based. It was a
Oh, that's got to be Flight Simulator, hasn't it?
no.
I'm just kidding. Just pulling your leg.
What was the? Oh God! It was like a Japanese, almost samurai game, and it was literally.
All I need to know,
it?
was there any sushi in it or ramen?
I don't know, possibly.
I know the game you're talking about. Just trying to remember what it was. Who was it made by? Do you remember? Capcom.
This is it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Capcom.
This is it. Yeah, this is Capcom. And I was just like, damn, this looks good.
It does.
This really reminds me of. I'm trying to think of the other game now. It was another weird Japanese game which I absolutely fell in love with.
You know what? If your mind is going, I don't know what's that saying for mine, because mine went years ago.
No, it's the reason I'm trying to think of it is literally I'm trying Scarlet Nexus. That had a kind of another awesome, strange sort of take with it, and this just reminded me of that and its beauty and its style and its gameplay. So it's like, well, this is another one that I just looked at. I was like, yeah, this is definitely up my alley. But this seems to be either co-op or squad based, as in AI, I think.
If it's co-op, then I'll be there with you. I tell you what, the animations reminded me of the main characters and of Monster Hunter World.
Mm.
Well, not maybe the animation system more so, but yeah, Monster.
No, I know where you're going with it. Yeah, no, I know where you're going with it. See, it's like this just looks beautiful. It's just vibrant, full of color. It's got the crazy monsters in it, and it just suits me so well.
I haven't seen something as creative as this from Capcom since Okami.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's what I was thinking.
When was
yeah,
that?
This definitely has
a long time ago.
Oh God, Okami was
2004.
Really? A long time. Wow, 20 years
2004.
ago. Nearly.
Yeah, I was thinking was it the remake or the sequel, Okami 2014?
I don't know. I just know the original game was 2004, 2005.
But it just looks absolutely crazy, doesn't it?
It was just after Clover Studios was closed down in 2005. I know that kind of specifically because it doesn't matter. That's another conversation.
But regardless of that, there's going to be one game that you're going to be playing regardless, and it's Lies of P, VJ.
Lies of P. Yeah, I don't know too much about that game. I wasn't overly sold.
The demo is out there, so you can actually play the demo.
I'm gonna play the Final Fantasy 16 demo, then back to Zelda. But yeah.
Well, the best way I can describe it so far, because I'm just starting to play it now, is it looks on par with Bloodborne.
Would you say?
I would say so. Yeah.
Interesting.
It has a Bloodborne sort of situation, which is like, push hard and keep pushing hard. And then it's obviously got that gothic style as well, but it's obviously slightly in France. But it's got a very nice gothic-y sort of visual representation. And the demo's out. It's quite a large demo as well. So,
how did you feel about it?
I'm just starting it. Literally just starting it. So
sorry.
But the visuals is beautiful, really beautiful. This is what I would expect Bloodborne to be if they ever did a remaster. Is what I'm thinking. In terms of its illumination, it's on Xbox. Yep, you can download the actual demo as of a couple of weeks ago. I think about a week ago or something like that. It is out, all ready for you to kind of enjoy.
My goodness. I'm just obviously I can't really sort of explain how enamored I am with Zelda at the moment. It just keeps. I've got some of the tracks of some of the overworld haunt me while I'm sleeping. Not haunt me as in disturbing my sleep, not in terms of how magical they are. And then obviously Final Fantasy is something, you know, that is one of my most favorite franchises. I was telling Stubbs, he didn't believe me at first. He was kind of in shock when I said to him when it came out in 1996 in Japanese. What was it, 7? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I think it was 96. The Japanese version came out, and I completed it in Japanese.
I was like,
And he said, "Oh, do you speak Japanese?" I said, "No, I don't. Maybe a few words, but it's normally related to
Doesn't
food
need to
items."
be. It doesn't actually. Ironically, it actually translates so well, regardless
no,
of your.
tell him the next part, but the story. There's more to it. There is.
Oh, so yeah, so there's basically what it is. In Final Fantasy VII, which you can't do in any of the other games, you can actually breed chocobos, and you can also breed different color chocobos. So yellow, green, blue, but then there's a gold chocobo, and you have to get a gold chocobo in order to reach a very specific island on the world map where there is the ultimate of ultimate icons, which was summons, if we can put it, which was Knights of the Round. So I couldn't work out what to feed them, even though, you know, it was highlighted in text. So what I would do is that I would reload my save, write out all the Japanese text, and then fax it, because obviously back then we didn't have we didn't have any other way. We didn't have smartphones, so I'd fax it all to a friend of mine who was a journalist for Edge magazine at the time. Remember, this is 1996. Yeah, this is not like it's not recent. It's nearly 30 years ago, and he'd sort of write back the English, and it still really wouldn't make much sense, because taking the English, okay, they're fine, it translated the Japanese.
The English translation doesn't always translate well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's not like for like.
It just didn't really. The translation didn't actually still tell me where I needed to go on the world.
I know what I mean. Yeah.
Eventually, someone locally in Hong Kong, you know, who's playing the game, you know, who knew Japanese, helped me. But so I used all that information to help me breed a gold chocobo, so I could get Knights of the Round before I could put that game down, because I needed it actually for the end of the game. So you just know Final Fantasy VIII, and I think even Final Fantasy IX I played in Japanese. So
that's
and
cool.
those games that's supposed to take you 50-60 hours. It would take me a hell of a lot longer for obvious reasons. So and that's why, you know, I you know, and I'm not the only one, Removable. Millions of people around the world played Final Fantasy in Japanese before the conversion. So, and that's why it's steeped in history, and that's why so many people still love it, regardless of the peaks and troughs of the franchise over the years. Well, you know, again, you know, that's people perhaps being overcritical, because what those games offer, if you're willing to put the time in, regardless of what critics may say, it's got something to offer everybody to some degree, in some facet, based on, you know, on a video gaming experience that unlock something in you, or provide you something that you won't find in other video games. And Remake does that above and beyond many other games that I've played. But there's compliments you can play to any video game, right? There's no such thing that's the best, this is the best. Every video game has got something to offer you. And like you said, you could ask Luke, you can ask Indie Gamer, you can ask Paul AFC, Stubbs Gaming, obviously Gears and Edith Finch crossover is what he's mostly waiting for at the moment, probably with a bit of banjo thrown in, and you know, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because we can all find beauty in the most remote regions of the video gaming domain, if I can put it like that. Not bad for my voice being pretty awful today. Sorry.
Yes, you do well.
You're doing well. But no, I think I forgot where the conversation goes. We go everywhere, don't we? Our conversations on these
Was
shows.
there a game? Okay, here's one for it. Was there a game on the list that you saw in the showcase that surprised you in terms of, ooh, that's what I wasn't expecting?
Well, I would say it's more to do with Arkwright and what he said to Nurse Gladys Emanuel. There's not enough time to explore all of you.
This is true.
Great
this is
TV
true.
series. That is great.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to go off the subject again.
No, it's good.
The only is I knew exactly what you was talking about, because I know that I've watched all of that. So
I've watched all of that too.
But I would just say that they've done. They did a very good job. There's lots out there. I am wondering whether they're keeping stuff back though as well.
I think
because there was some games that we was expecting to see, but we haven't seen anything
there'll
about.
be games that they're leaving for next year. There will be.
What Removable's saying there, fundamentally, if you really think about it, he's saying everyone's playing out their strategy. That's all it is. For us, it's different. We view games as a hobby, something to look forward to, future promise, engage our imaginations. For Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, etc., 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 it's all about strategy.
What I will say was a different strategy was Sony's different strategy in terms of hardware versus Xbox's. Sony went with a handheld. Xbox went with an upgraded Series S.
I don't think that was really needed. I don't. If you buy a new one now, then yeah. But I don't really think it was out to. No, really.
Well, what's the original series? White Series 1 is like, was it 249? Was it
more expensive?
300. The white one is.
Yeah.
The white one here was
the black one's 349, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 299 and 349. Yeah, but I mean.
Oh, so it's 50 quid. So it's a $50 difference, and you're getting that 1 terabyte option now. So it means you won't have to mess around.
Oh, it's true. I mean, to be honest, like Indie Gamer says, it does make sense because 1 terabyte, it really should have always been 1 terabyte on there.
Does it not have a port for an expansion card, or am I misunderstanding something?
It does. But the trouble is, the Series S, it's so. The games these days, they're like, what was it, like 2 COD games, and you filled up the entire internal memory card. So, and also the memory cards themselves were phenomenally expensive. They are coming down, but they're still phenomenally expensive in terms of what it is.
No.
It's almost the same as
Removable. It was just to do with the fact that if I'd have bought an S, which I haven't, but if I'd have bought an S, the original, the white version, and I didn't have an opportunity to expand that for a memory card, then I'd be a bit peeved that now they're releasing a terabyte version, which I may or may not have a trade-in program. But if the white version has a slot where you can insert a memory card, then that's fair enough, right? You're an early adopter, you expect these things.
Yes, yeah, but I think they've done it. I'm surprised that they went down the kind of.
Yeah.
They went down the kind of, what I'd say is an upgrade versus where Sony went for almost like a streaming device. And that was intriguing because I kind of would have expected it the other way around.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I would have expected, Xbox gone for more of a streaming device rather than.
I think the most important thing here, again, Removable, is I think they're both trying to address certain
concerns.
Not concerns, certain demands from consumers. They're testing also in terms of, let's see how this goes. But for me, I'm assuming that the Sony device is a streaming device, right? For your console, dedicated stream. And I know some people said, "Oh, why are they doing this?" Blah blah. But for me, because of my household situation, it actually makes a lot of sense for me. And it was like, oh my goodness, fantastic. So that would actually be something I'd want to keep an eye out for. I potentially would want to buy one of those. If Lord Stubbs would actually fulfill his duty of providing me my pocket money on a weekly basis. But yeah, no, I think that both are welcome, and again, what it does, it affords us as consumers choice, which is fundamentally what we appreciate.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah, definitely.
And some new pro consoles, please, at some point.
No, God, I don't need another console, another refresh. I know it'll happen, but it's like.
Do you think? I don't know, because I'm not in the UK, but if a pro console was announced in the next 24 months for Xbox, does Xbox have a trade-in program, or would they have a trade-in program?
No, it'd be Game would cash in on it. They would say, trade in your console and get so much off a new one. They would. They wouldn't.
Understood.
It's not much. Trust me.
I wouldn't be interested in one anyway. I would not be interested.
You'd want half a dozen, knowing you greedy sod.
I'd just play my PC, wouldn't I? I've started playing more
We've
games on the
created a
PC
monster
actually.
here. Someone's created a monster here, removable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean the bloke on the screen.
Blame the Indie Gamer and Paul AFC and Luke Stead in chat. PC Master Race. But no. Is there any? I mean, obviously I've not answered that. Any nice surprises? We keep getting sidetracked, don't we? Removable said any nice surprises that we're actually surprised by. I mean,
Removable, do you want to go? Why don't you go first, Mr. Stubbs? What surprised you?
Stubbsy.
Yeah, what surprised you? Oh, look, he's asked the question that he's surprised.
And he can't think of it now.
Well,
he's actually surprised.
I'm
he's
looking
actually
at my list
surprised.
now, thinking about it.
He's actually we've actually surprised him by turning the question on him.
Well, the question was from Removable initially, but we never answered it. We nearly did.
Removable, do you want to go while Stubbs is thinking? Sorry.
Definitely the one that we saw previously, which was the can't think of its name. The almost like the Persona 5 new kind of franchise. That was very, very intriguing for me. And again, one that I mentioned previously, which was the Japanese game, which is with all the flowers in it. I can't think again. Apologies, I can't think of the name of it, but that looked really something up my alley. There wasn't many that I didn't want to play. There was really a whole load of one, but I was surprised at what I would potentially say a lot more Japanese games are coming through, and it seems that Microsoft has started to play off to their input and what I'm trying to think of the actual terminology here. Basically they're getting close to Japanese developers, which is what we've been asking for.
The majority of them games, not all of them, were basically because they're partners with Sega. They're all ports.
No, I look at it differently, because the Path of the Goddess obviously was from Capcom, correct? And then you had, I think, the games that that's the flowery game that Removable says that'll forever be known, Path of the Goddess Flower Edition. And then you've got I think Removable was talking about Persona 5 Tactica. Is that the game that you were talking about? And
no, it's the new franchise one, the new one that kind of had a Persona 5-esque sort of.
Yeah. Metamorph. Point is, it's part of Sega. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So the way I see it is this: Sega had Kiryu-san, right, and the Man Who Erased His Name, and the Sonic reveal. So and then Sega split their other IPs, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, or whatever it was called, and a couple of games from the studio. The company it owns, a subsidiary of theirs, which is Atlas, which had Persona 5 Tactica and Persona 3 Reload, which are appearing in Game Pass. So basically, the way I think Sega, it was their strategy fundamentally. Hey, look, these are two full price games which are going to be coming out across multi-format, and hey, these couple of games that are going to go into Game Pass, we'll display them on the Xbox show. The only thing I wasn't sure on was whether Like a Dragon, like the first game, is coming to Game Pass at some point in time, or if it's going to be a straight full-on full price retail release.
I think it'll probably go full price, and then it'll come into Game Pass. Yeah, like it did previously.
Yeah. And you see that Removal, because we talked about this about 6 months ago, and say, you know what, now when the sequel comes, we said something along the lines of, when the sequel comes to Like a Dragon, and are people going to just expect some of these games coming straight to Game Pass? And I think that is spot on, because I think in 6 months' time we'll look back at this conversation and say, Like a Dragon, it was revealed, it was released at full price. Look at that, it's straight in Game Pass. So we're starting to see a pattern of how these strategies and how these games are being showcased through different platform holder events, in terms of whether it's just full on price, full on retail, or whether it's going to be full on retail and Game Pass, or Game Pass day one. And I think games like the Path of the Goddess, the Flower Edition, as Removable has now emblazoned upon it, on its tombstone, is just another idea where where Microsoft are using Game Pass, and the income that they're generating from that, the cash flow that is generating from that, is to take some of these games which may or may not have been in the mind's eye or at the forefront of full retail price AAA games, which may or may not hit, but if going to Game Pass, as did Wulong, right, may draw on and embrace an audience where fundamentally it may have not done so had it just been released in the midst of thousands of other games, right, at retail. So I think for publishers at least, it's a way to be creative, take risks, and put in content, not just indie games. I don't mean that in a diminishing sort of way, but you're like a mid-tier budget, shall we say, right, where it's a risk, but hey, look, we can mitigate some of that by putting it into Game Pass, and it plays into Xbox's strategy as well of saying, hey, look, there's another facet to Game Pass because we are getting some remakes and day one Japanese releases in Game Pass worldwide for our audience. So it helps everybody.
Well, that was kind of unthinkable.
An ecosystem for everybody to enjoy.
You are right. It was unthinkable before.
It was unthinkable, like what, even 3 or 4 years ago.
I will say one thing though. Out of all them list of Atlas games, the new IP. Hang on. Oh no. Wait a minute. Actually, it might be in Game Pass. I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
Because it said day one. Now, did it mean day one for this, or did it mean for the previous game?
Or which game? Like a Dragon used to be. Which game?
This game's the Metamorph, the new IP for Atlas. Now, it said day one first there. Did it mean for the game showed previously, or did it mean this game?
No, the day one for Game Pass came in, the splash screen, the tawdry splash screens came in after the actual trailer. So, yeah.
So this one, I don't think this one's in Game Pass.
I'm not sure. I thought majority of them were. The only one I wasn't sure about was Like a Dragon, the Infinite Wealth. And the thing is, people may think, oh no, the Japanese games.
Everyone's saying that it's not in Game Pass. They didn't say it.
Oh, which one?
This one
here.
One we're watching now.
Oh, I don't know. I don't recall. So yeah, if it's not, it's not. But the point being for me is that it's not about Japanese games coming to Game Pass and this and that and the other. It's as I said at the top of the show. For me, this show is about. Well, look, you guys know, right? There's no guarantees in the industry that changes as rapidly or so quickly. The video games industry. That's why it's unique, and that's why it's ever changing and ever growing and ever evolving, right? And there's always, from a design perspective, there's the potential of a video game is always there, right? But until it gets in the hands of the consumer and critics, it's very difficult to say whether that game will be a hit. But for me, for Xbox, it's fundamentally about, look, how do we get our commercial revenue to grow and explode in terms of growth? And this is a facet of it. Yep. But at the same time, is that Sony and Nintendo have known over the last 30 years what a saturation or peak looks like for them and the industry. Hence they're moving into TVs, movies, mobile games, PC markets alongside. Is it gas games? I'm not familiar with the terminology there. So they're trying to do it as well. So for Xbox, trying to get Japanese games into Game Pass, paying for it, and trying to break that saturation point only goes to benefit the other players in the industry. And that's not just only in Nintendo. It's across the board for all second-party partnerships, all third-party publishers, and all indie game devs. So it's not about... This is why I don't go on Twitter or do other podcasts, because it's always about, was this better than that show? That's just such idiotic thinking. Do you understand the mindset I'm trying to say? It's so pigeonholed, so Neanderthal, is that Neanderthalic? Or
Neanderthal.
There's a word for it, right? So my thinking is that what is Microsoft doing, and how does Sony and Nintendo leverage that? Because for so long, that they've led by example, and Microsoft have followed. But as I say to you, one of the key pieces of wisdom is that those that lead provide guidance for those that follow. And Microsoft do not have restrictions on budget when they can pay $7 billion for a company and have their key franchise as a benefit, right, or as a privilege to have it on their format. That's the power that they wield. There is no financial consequences for them, and I think that for Sony and Nintendo, they shouldn't be looking at a point of diminishing returns. They should be looking at where is Microsoft pushing the boundaries of the gaming industry and its renownedness across the globe, and how do they dovetail into the slipstream of that. So, am I just gone off subject completely again, like a complete idiot? Just tell me, because I know it can be quite boring at times.
No, we were talking about the variety that in the showcase and what the Xbox is trying to expand into the different games, because to help grow the business. I just shout outs to Dragon Wolf. Thanks for popping in, mate. Because you are right. I mean, if you look in Game Pass now, they actually basically hit every single variety of game you can nearly think about now. They've got a wide variety of Japanese games now too, in Persona and a Yakuza, all different forms of Yakuzas. Sega's actually expanding. They're doing very well. Since that Sega partnership, I read a lot of the earnings calls from Sega.
I must admit, there was one thing.
They are.
There was one thing, Capcom, that did disappoint me. There was no Dino Crisis. And that is such a brilliant franchise. They really could easily.
They know people want that. Everyone's always asking for it. They must know. They must know.
Exactly. It's like, come on. It's just like, oh, please. Because it's about time that gets a remake. It is a fantastic.
You see, that's another removable. I know it may be a long something else. If there was enough of a demand for it, it's something that Xbox could turn around to Capcom and say, look, there's a demand for this, we'll help fund it, put it in Game Pass and release it full price.
I tell you what, it would be a very good if they did. Because they've got the existing franchise fanboys who would be right. I'm getting it.
Exactly.
Because Sony have shown, right, the saturation point in terms of subscription base, right? So has Nintendo to a degree, and Microsoft is pretty close to that number across PC and its home system device. So they're trying to find ways of breaking that, and partnerships are sometimes the only way to do it, right? And Sega are just showing, hey, look, we're a commercial entity, we're open for business, we're not tribal, we're not committed to any particular party, because we've done all that in the days of the Mega Drive, and look how well that went for them. So our approach is, look, we want to create, we want to produce, we want to expand, we want to develop, and fundamentally we want to evolve, because there's not just one pillar to our business. We have several pillars, that make up the Sega Sammy division, entity, corporation, PLC, whatever, blue chip company, Fortune 500, whatever you want to call it. So many names, acronyms for these companies now. And and I think they're being smart and they're being strategic, and they're going with the flow. But for me, as I say to you, it's because I've played Like a Dragon, and I know what to expect from Sega and the Gotoku Studios. So I said it really quickly there because I don't know if I got the pronunciation right. So I'm trying to get away with it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game as well. And
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I think the only person who hasn't answered us about what he's looking forward to is Stubzy Baby.
Just before he does, Starfield, Spider-Man 2, and Silk Song. They're the three that I'm looking forward to. The triple S. For this year.
If you want to hear what I've got a list. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Starfield. Star Wars Outlaws looks good. Persona 3 Reload Day. Avowed. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. I've still got a complete number 1 for that though. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, but the problem is I've got to catch up with a lot of the games in the franchise before I even get to that one. Forza Motorsport.
No, I'd say you probably, as long as you've done Like a Dragon, I think you're probably okay.
I ain't done that. I haven't.
Ah, right.
Now, Persona 5 Tactical, that's one I want to ask you, VJ, now.
Yeah.
Obviously I've started to play Persona 5 again now. Just carry it on in the story. Now, to me, it looks like the same game, but they're all like shrunk down mini versions. Is it the same game with a different spin? That's what it looks like. Is it the same game? Because it is Persona 5.
Yeah, so there's I forgot what it's called. It's called Super Deformed, or the Japanese. I don't know. I think it was a saying for it, like Chiba style or something.
Like little Funko Pop characters, little shrunk down characters to do.
Yeah, like is it SD in anime or something? Removable, something like that. I don't know. Anyway,
I think so. Yes.
A Chiba style or something, like, you know, so like a smaller body, etc. And bigger heads. And I won't really mention their danglers because I'm not that way inclined. But anyway, the point being is, I thought it as actually the mobile game, but then I realized no, the visual style is incorrect. So basically, you have to understand the popularity of the Persona 5 characters across the people that have played the game and in Japan, and the popularity of the merchandise that has been created for it. So not only is there a mobile game of Persona 5, but Persona 5 Tactica, I think, is just another spin-off of those characters in another adventure within the world of Persona, or whatever it's called. So yeah, probably a bit like Gears Tactics, but it's just a lot better.
I'd imagine so, because I did not like Gears Tactics at all.
Just a joke.
Yeah, it should be capped. It won't be coming back.
I better make the most of today then. I think the best thing to probably do is just to do a search and have a look into what Persona 5 Tactica is all about. But I think the good thing is that it's coming to Game Pass. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes,
so,
I think so.
Yeah. But it's but yeah, I'm just trying to think what else was really, really great about the show. I mean, obviously, you know me, right? I'm leaning towards all the Japanese games as usual. Starfield, I think it's huge. I think there's tons to do in the game. It could be incredibly overwhelming for me, and then it's just a case about the gameplay loop and how it's all sewn together, and how fast you can transition between the different aspects of in the game and what you're supposed to be doing. And if they get it, and this is where MechWarrior 5 is. I might have been spoilt by choice, but if it's at the same sort of, I don't know, the speed, I don't know if that's the right word, Removable, because you've played it, in terms of transitioning between, you know, building out your mech, traversing the galaxy, finding the missions you want to do, leveling up, and all that kind of stuff, and then playing out the missions, and then repeating the whole cycle all over again, you know, recruiting new pilots, etc. Then it'll be great. But if it's, you know, kind of explore, do this job and do that tutorial, and
I think it leaves it up to you, as with most of they just basically say you do what you feel like. If you want to become an explorer, experience, if you just want to be a tradesman, be a tradesman. If you want to be basically a bus driver, become a bus driver.
Right. So would there be a single player narrative-driven storyline to this game?
There'll still be there'll still be a narrative behind it, but how you get to that will be up to you.
Understood. Okay, that's great. As long as that's the only thing that wasn't clear to me, whether there was a single story-driven, you know, narrative there actually to be experienced. I didn't really understand that from watching maybe they did say it, but it wasn't obvious to me. But thanks for that.
All right.
Okay.
It's gone quiet.
Come on, Stubbs. You must have had something that surprised you or that you were looking forward to.
I just gave you a whole list of games. I did.
No, the only game you mentioned was Payday 3.
I never mentioned that game.
See, that's because he loves it.
Clockwork Revolution looked good.
That was an intriguing one, because again, I think most people were saying that it's BioShock. What would you class it? BioShock, a new BioShock franchise. Yeah, that was intriguing, and the graphical fidelity was definitely amazing and hyper. I don't know. That's it's another one to put on the list, isn't it?
What was your? I mean, look. When I saw it, I didn't see BioShock. I saw elements of BioShock Infinite, and then my mind went straight across to Judas, which is the one I'm waiting for from the original Ken Levine. So that's where my mind was at. It looks interesting, but I wasn't totally sold on the game.
Is it because it's again it's probably similar to? Is it because you're on like a I won't say you're kind of finished, but you're on your way out, aren't you? With some of the games, the long-term RPGs. You're looking for a bit of a break, is what I'm thinking of.
I'm just waiting for Silk Song, if I'm totally honest with you.
Just trying
it's not even a joke.
He's just trying to keep indie gamer happy in chat.
No, it's not. It's not, because if you look at all the games that I've been playing, I've been avoiding platformer, roguelike, Metroidvania. I mean, I don't even know what these genres mean, to be honest with you. I've been avoiding all of those sorts of games because, as I've said to you before, is that I'm playing these open world games because I don't want to be I want to have an appetite for it. Do you see? Sorry, do you see on your screen? Do you see the user interface?
Yeah.
How it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. One of the best.
Very intuitive. Very intuitive.
Very intuitive. Very clean. Very precise. Very easy to navigate.
And that's what you need to be if you're creating your own spaceship or starport as well. If you're creating all these items, you need it to be quick, crisp, clear, and something that's easy to kind of utilize.
Removable, a question for you. When you saw the Starfield, did it evoke memories of it did for me, MechWarrior 5, how that works and structured, and Mass Effect Andromeda and Mass Effect the original trilogy as well. Did this game evoke some of those any of the core elements evoke memories of those games to you?
I kind of had a little bit of a difference because I also played Elite Dangerous, a very big, heavy Elite Dangerous fan, and I also played No Man's Sky. So it's taken elements from all of them, and it's trying to do its own thing, which is great because you want it to do its own thing. It's a curated. Okay, yes, there's thousands of planets, but unlike No Man's Sky, where it's procedurally generated, this seems to be procedurally generated but curated. Procedurally curated, is that what makes the word?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting a much more tighter experience.
See here, this was Mass Effect through and through for me. Just an improvement on the overall detail and the amount of navigation you can do, and the exploration elements. Besides the improvement in visuals, but talking of visuals, did you just see there when you're navigating inside of your spaceship, the visual fidelity in comparison to roaming the open world? Do you see the distinction between?
Walk into your ship, have a look around your ship, and then you can just go anywhere you feel like it to a degree.
Yeah, so, I kind of meant the visual disparity. Disparity is a bad word, but be looking in and around the textures and the polygon count that you're able to experience within a confined space inside the space.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, outside world. Just for Stubbs's for eye to see the disparity in terms of LODs and textures that are being used depending on what you're looking at any given or exploring at any given time within a game. Even that can change, let alone CG rendered cutscenes. Just to go back to the original topics, I just wanted to see if Stubbs noticed that.
Stubbs doesn't look at these things, you know that.
I think it's fallen.
I just don't pay super detail to it. I don't.
What I will say, I spotted something on this. They did a copy from Elite Dangerous, which was how you can distribute your power consumption depending on the situation you are in. So Elite Dangerous has exactly the same thing, where you can add more power to your shields, add more power to your weapons, add more power to your engine, depending on the situation that you face. And I was like, that's exactly the same. So I think they've taken some of the best aspects out of what I would say some of the games that are around now and tweaked them for their own individual benefits.
I just want to say, is that Elite Dangerous? That's not referring to David Braben's Elite, or is that a different?
It
thing?
is. Yes, it is. Yep, he did 2 games. He did the original Elite Dangerous in 1989, I think, and then he did effectively a modern day remaster stroke reimagining of it in 2015, 2016, and it's still going today.
Yeah, a friend of his passed away not that long ago. David Brabens, who was a friend of mine. But anyway, it's a different story.
But I was surprised, I must admit.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, if this game's been 25 years in development, obviously the people that are working on it now have been influenced by games of the past 25, 30 years. So, you know, it's just a case of that's all we really are as human beings, right? Is memory of what's gone before. So
it's a case. I'm hoping that
implementation.
The implementations. If you're going to, I always find if you're going to, what's it called? Copy something. Don't do a poor job of it.
Don't do a poor imitation. Don't be a poor imitation.
Yes, that's exactly. Don't do a poor imitation of it.
Like King Charles is of stubzgaming.
So I'm hoping that there is enough there. Like even that where he's literally running past the animal, and you can scan the animal
at 15 frames per second.
At 15 frames a second, it is. That reminds me of No Man's Sky.
This reminds me.
There is stuff that they've taken, they've kind of pipped across. I just hope they've implemented a really good way of doing it.
Removable, but this is so Mass Effect. No? Okay.
I think so.
Not Andromeda, the first one. You know, the Citadel.
And
obviously, it's evolved and it's visually more impressive. But
I'd say it's Mass Effect Light. This is much more. Yeah, this is definitely much more evolved.
Yeah, of course. But the essence of the Citadel and Mass Effect is all there. But it's what we wanted Mass Effect to become, and that's why if it's got a single sort of single player story, narrative driven element to this, then I will play it. I mean, this looks phenomenal. I mean, wow, so it'd be really, really interesting to see and play.
I'll be interested to see how this game again. Is these like you said, these towns, are they vastly populated? Previous Bethesda games showcase off a pretty vastly populated NPCs, and knowing what I've done with them, they always put in thousands and thousands and thousands of individual dialogue and text. It will be like you're walking down a breathing individual colony and planet, and it's going to be. I reckon it is going to be a great game. I'm just hoping it doesn't have too many bugs in the beginning.
I mean, potentially, is it a killer app for Microsoft and Xbox?
I would say. This could become a console selling franchise.
Or a subscription selling. Or a subscription selling.
Actually, a subscription selling franchise.
I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. Just a joke. Yeah. Or both.
That's true.
Both.
Welcome to Sergeant Sentinel Gaming. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, Starfield, I think, could be the system seller, the Game Pass seller, whatever you want to call it.
Well, at the moment, there's no Gears, there's no Halo. What else is there?
I do think that Xbox want
Forza.
to show.
Forza will be there, yep.
They want to show that they don't need to rely on Halo and Gears anymore. As well.
I think so. That should be. If you look at Sony,
That's a positive thing, though.
There's a variety of system sellers they've got in their title. If you was trying to do the same with Microsoft, you'd go Forza and Halo and Gears. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Am I being an idiot?
Yeah. But now the more
he's right or he's an idiot. Can you clarify?
No, because that is their main staples: Forza, Gears, Halo. They're trying to get away from that, and with this showcase, it proved that. Well, obviously you've got Forza, but that game, that Forza Motorsport game, has took quite a number of years to make. It's quite I believe it's quite a step up in technology they're using. I'm no good at racing games, but it looks a very, very good game. Looks far better graphically than Forza Horizon 4.
Forza Horizon 4 was very good. That was a good.
No, it was very good,
jump.
but I think this looks like quite a big jump. This does. It does. I'm no racing expert, so I might be completely wrong.
You are. He says that.
I'm
he
terrible. But no, they've
Tell you
got
what,
a wider variety now. Xbox. They've got all angles covered really. With Game Pass. They have.
Well, I'd say I prefer a little bit more indie games, but I'm going to say that.
With the showcase, but generally Xbox do in Game Pass as a subscriber, they do have a lot of indie games anyway. They do. Just that there should have been more indie games in the showcase. Even if it was a longer sizzle reel, it wouldn't have hurt to do a little, minute here. It wouldn't have hurt. There was no sizzle reel either, or a long sizzle reel. They could have put indie games in somewhere. You don't have to have a developer talking about every individual game. You could have slotted in 20, 30 indie games easily into that show, but that's not what they wanted to do. But it's what they usually do.
Well, I'm just wondering if, as I said, are they putting something back? Are they holding back something?
I mean, the extended showcase, they could very well have a load of indie games.
Can I just ask Removal just to expand on that a little bit in terms of holding back? Do you mean in terms of other content, or?
I think so. I think they are.
But would you, if you're a poker player, and if you have a strategy, and you know that potentially to game development, as you well know, whether you're an indie developer on your own or if you're
you never showcase off. You never show your full hand. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And this is the same thing that I kind of, for the PlayStation 1, people were saying, oh, it's a bit lackluster, it's a bit, didn't show off. Because again, I think they're holding stuff back. You don't show off. I don't think they're showing off.
It's all strategy.
I think they should have shown off more, but I don't think they're showing off.
Because
some of the big IPs they've got hidden.
Yeah, for me, it's like, okay, you know what? if you're, whatever, Jim Ryan, for example, just for the lack of someone else, is you have a strategy, you have your financial goals to achieve, which financial goals encompasses software sales, hardware sales, subscription, maintenance, etc., and so on and so forth. If you're already hitting those goals with what you've revealed, regardless of what the consensus on YouTube and Twitter is, because it doesn't really speak for the masses in terms of, because if it did, Sony would be dead and buried a long time ago. But the results are obviously important. So at the end of the day, they've got Final Fantasy 16, and they've got Spider-Man. Nintendo have got obviously Zelda, and they've got Pikmin, and I think they've got one other title. I can't remember what it's called now, towards the end of the year. And those are more than enough to sustain and deliver, and perhaps even eclipse what it is that they've predicted to their shareholders. And future content is just that. I think what Sony, whether it was intentional or not, released a demo at the eve, on the boxing eve, shall we say, of the showcase from Microsoft, to say, yep, they've showed you everything, but here's something you can play now. So it's all strategy at the end of the day, and I would only assume that right now Sony didn't need to showcase any more than they did, where the expectation from Microsoft was completely different. And it was not our expectation, it was their own promise of, look, at what some point in time we will arrive. And they said, look, we're arriving on this day. And it coincided with Sony saying, look, we don't need to show all our wares because Spider-Man is our main title for the end of the year, which we're focusing on. And so it's all strategy at the end of the day. The problem is that as consumers, or people that create content, or people that just have no brain, or have several brain bypasses, are just creating narratives which aren't necessarily true to the actual, how can I put it? the trajectory that these companies are on. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure
No,
there's a quicker and easier way of saying that, but I just like using words.
No, do you think? I mean, because it is out of
I
character
don't
for the
actually.
show.
I don't, and that's why I talk a lot of nonsense.
No, what I mean is, do you think? I mean, I obviously enjoyed the wide selection of games.
Removable. Do you see the way you tried to insult me there? Just want to
I know.
make sure
I
It doesn't
haven't.
like, does it?
recorded.
I haven't. Have I?
He's saying
He's taking the piss out of you,
Oh.
mate.
he's called me a dozy twonk. That's all he
No,
just did, and
no.
I said, all right, fine, it's your show.
it
You
is,
say
it's-
what you want. I'll just accept it.
I mean, I'm not saying they have, but although we agreed on the show where we covered the PlayStation showcase, there was a good variety of games. Do you think Xbox has seen the backlash of people moaning about indie games and just not bothered to put them in the Xbox showcase because of it? But I can't see why they'd do that, because
I wouldn't have thought so. No,
it's
I mean,
strange how they
You're
just left them
you
out.
see, this is the thing, but Stubbs, this is the thing,
Yeah.
right? Sony did an indie showcase primarily, which people are saying they didn't do a AAA showcase, and now you're using the same hand to slap Microsoft for having a AAA game show and not doing an indie showcase. So they can't win. But I think, as I said to you,
They
it's
could have
all
fit
about
more.
strategy.
They could have fit some in though. They could have done. It would have been nice though. I love the showcase regardless.
well, are they doing an ID Xbox show?
Yeah, but that's not the point. They've always put them in their big
Well, I
shows.
think it's unfair that I don't have a bigger stomach to enjoy more food, but that's just life.
But what I'm saying is, if they're doing an ID Xbox show, maybe they're doing a big and the reason why they've separated it is because they've got so many indie games that's coming forward. I'm not saying I know this for sure. I'm not saying that this is a potential. Maybe it's a complete bull tosh.
You're inside.
Maybe.
Don't lie. You know.
I wish. I tell you what, I'd like to be an insider because there is so many indie games I would get ported to the Xbox. You guys would be absolutely love.
There's no Xbox ID showcase planned.
Right. So then, in that case, that tells me that then it's either being there is a lull at this stage for them, or
There's definitely not a lull of indie games. There's plenty of them.
no, I said for them.
For
That's
them,
there. Yeah, my wording was very particular there because it's a lull for them, not for indie games in general. And one of the reasons I say this is that when I spoke to quite a few indie devs at the EGX or WASD, I should say now, it was EGX Res WASD, they did say there was a lot of terms and conditions a lot of indie devs had to go through to get their game on the ID Xbox.
Removable, but would you not say that is strategy? Because indie
Well,
games
it's strategy if something else is going to come out later.
Yeah, exactly. So my point being in strategy at this point in time is that, look, we can't fall behind because we are falling behind in terms of our install base of hardware, which is fundamentally really important, regardless of the fact that we want to sell loads and loads of subscriptions. So we have to put our best foot forward and show the AAA content that we've been promising for the last 5 to 10 years.
Oh, I agree.
And indie games are fantastic and great, and we'll keep including them in Game Pass, and we'll advertise it every single month, but it's not fundamentally what's going to build our company.
I would say at this stage they do a very poor job of advertising the indie games in general. They do a very poor job. The stuff that's on there now, even I'm finding stuff on there that I have never heard of. I think they do a poor job. Unless, of course, it's what I would classify as consumer-friendly indie games. And the reason why I say consumer-friendly is those ones where it's going to be almost like a guaranteed hit.
Yeah.
You know, like your Cupheads and stuff like that, where people have already got lots of PR. Those ones, they'll have no problem kind of pushing forward. But there's tons of other indie games that they don't even bother.
No, and I think Silksong coming to Game Pass echoes exactly what you're saying.
And that's the thing. I think if it was me, just me alone, I would be showcasing. I'd be doing a separate event for indie games, and I would be promoting as much as.
The point Indie Game was saying. He said it's not. That's not really the point. The ID Xbox showcase doesn't really get many eyes on it at all. It doesn't. They do a terrible job at letting people know the show's even on. And he said there is an opportunity to get some to give some of these the spotlight. He's right.
Exactly, 100%. As I said, if it was me,
they don't market it.
Be...
They don't do anything. Sometimes it just feels like they go live and don't tell no one it's happening.
Exactly that. If it was me, I would be making it as almost as prominent as their AAAs. I'd be doing advertisement. I'd be doing a flashy thing for them, because if anything, and what I would try and do you know what? They could, if they even got, I know there's going to be a cheeky here, hell, they could get Devolver Digital to do a showcase for them. Because do you know what? That would be, it would bring eyes to them.
Devolver definitely would not do a showcase for them.
I know what I'm saying. I'm just taking, I'm taking it. I'm saying it's something along those. I wasn't taking it a bit seriously. What I'm saying is, like, if they went down that path, if they went down the kind of outrageous route, something more than what they're doing.
I guess the question for me comes is that everything that you're saying, Indy's saying, you're saying, Stubbs, is, you know what, someone should be championing this because there's a profit in it. And I'm just thinking, is there like Xbox and Sony leverage indie games and saying, oh look, we're championing in the indies, give us a tick in a box, and and let's
it feels
forward.
like it. Well,
in terms, because it looks to me like, okay, investment, time, resource, is it diminishing returns, or is it actually going to shift hardware? And you're seeing the nature of these companies, and I am agreeing with you, because I think that the amount of resource and these companies have, and the amount of money that they'd have to put behind putting on a showcase, like you're saying, in partnership with Devolver and or Nintendo or whatever, and putting on an indie game show to get them frontline and center, regardless of the financial strategic return on such an investment is perhaps even negligible for these guys, is that they should still do it, right? To bring, and perhaps there's an opportunity for somebody else. But the positive PR you'd think would have an angle, but these guys, they must have looked into it enough to determine whether it's actually worth it for them to do so. And if it isn't, then that's kind of worrying.
See, Nintendo do an incredible indie showcase that gets a lot of eyes. They know what they're doing. They actually do specific shows for indies, and these get serious. Nintendo do. They've got their own IndieCase show, and a lot of people watch it. It's not small numbers at all.
What frustrates me is they tout themselves as being indie developer friendly. If you see the PR spins, they always say how PR friendly they are and how they do it, and yet you never hear anything about it.
Here you go.
Sorry?
So the 19th of April 2023 on the Nintendo America's YouTube, for their showcase alone, for the Indie World Showcase, it was 1.1 million views just for Indie Showcase. That shows you.
If it was me, again, I'd make a separate show of it, and do you know what? I'd put a load of them in the Game Pass. Bump that Game Pass bulk up with indie games. Some will like it, some won't, but it's a hell of a lot of good gamings there. It's cheaper than your AAAs. You could bulk it up with at least, say, 20%. Bulk it up with indie games and showcase them off, because I'm trying to think of the last time they've shown something off in terms of indie games as a promotion, and I can't, and yet they're still touting it on the social medias. We are, we're indie game friendly, it's like, well, where is that? Only in name only.
PR.
No, it is. It's PR in the name only. And I've said this for time and time again, is that when game companies talk about, and I don't want to pick on her, but when Sarah Bond came out and said, oh, we've developed these video games for you, for our community, and I'm thinking, look, hang on a minute. Whoa. Because don't try to sell me, because this is incredibly disingenuous. You're producing content that you should have been producing consistently for the last 20 years. And what you're doing is creating content because that's your job, because you have to create content in order to entice us to buy your system and pay that money so that you can make a commercial return. So when I see this kind of stuff, and I'm thinking, how are you doing the job that you're being paid to do? Because you couldn't even ask the question when you revealed that Silk Song will be delivered into your whatever ecosystem within the next 12 months, and you didn't have the smarts to even ask the question, is that actually true? So I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm happy to give people a second chance because I'd like to believe we live in a redemptive society. But some of the nonsense that these execs spout and they expect consumers to gobble up and give them a messianic status in return is quite mind-boggling for me, right? And then when Phil Spencer came out and said, "Oh, you know, we've built Starfield," no, hold on, dude, you didn't build Starfield. You paid $7 billion for the privilege. So just get it right. And show a bit more humility. And the same thing goes for this indie gamer stuff, right? Is that I've seen Microsoft and and Sony, because I'm not clued up on Nintendo on this factor, come out and say, you know, we're the home of indie games, we're this, we're that, and we're the messianics, you know, we're the next second coming for indie games and whatnot. And I think to some degree it's okay when it's in vogue. But when it's not and it doesn't suit them and there's not a profit, there's not a return, there's no strategic benefit.
There's nothing seen. Yeah, it's hidden away straight away.
You know what? We'll drop you until the next time we need you.
Well, that's what PlayStation did when they had no first party. They
so the
were the
worst
indie
thing
box. They were.
The worst three things that I found about the worst showcase, and these are very minor, was what Phil said, the speeches that he gave, and the one Sarah gave, and the tawdry splash screens of in-game pass after every single bloody game, which we're not stupid. Right, and sometimes I think that they are so disconnected with how to speak to people. Maybe it's just me because I can just see the transparency of it.
You're thinking it right. I think I kind of gauge where it is. You're assuming the showcase is for consumers, when really the showcase is for journalists, PR, and stockbrokers, and consumers are just basically a secondary element that kind of needs to keep going.
I just think people are stupid.
Because I think that's what it is. I think they basically...
I'm sorry?
Tell them how it is.
No, I just think most human beings have a brain bypass. That's my stance on it. And I'm happy for people to disagree with me, but from my fundamental experience is that people don't know how to think critically and logically or dialectically, if you want to put it that way. And hence why you see... I'm not saying everybody, but you see aspects, because I know me and Removable, have a slight,
VJ,
and that's why
Luke agrees with you.
What? Who?
Luke thinks that every day people are stupid.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm not saying people are bad. There's a difference. I'm just saying people are fundamentally stupid and as like sheep and are easily goaded. And I forgot what that sheep game, indie game was. That was a really good game actually, shown on the Sony show. I've forgotten what it was called now.
Herd the sheep.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that. Love Livestock. Love Lost and
that was lovely.
One of the best games I've seen. Yeah.
What did you think of the climbing game? Thinking about that, because that was
yeah. I really like the look of it. I just don't know if it's going to be engaging over a long period of time, because I've been doing so much climbing in Zelda. It gave me PTSD. So, but yeah, it looks. I'll tell you one thing, and I know this is going to be really strange. I think it was you, Stubbs, or maybe you, Removal. I was speaking to offline. I said, everything I've seen across all of these shows, right, in terms of puzzle games, visual design, frame rates, gameplay styles, genres, is that everything you can do in all of these games, you can do all of that in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It encompasses all of that.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
One video game. It's just Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom. It was fantastic. A 10 out of 10 for me even before I picked up the game. But if it can, the game has grown in my estimation, and I'm kind of like, I feel even more privileged to be able to play it, because it's actually far greater than I can even comprehend. Does that make sense? And the more I play it, the more I'm coming to appreciate how much is packed into this game, not just for the sake of it, but how it's all stitched together. And all these other games that I'm seeing at the moment, and I've only seen them, I haven't played them, but so far it's a case of, you know what? These games only do in their entirety only do a fraction of what Zelda Tears of the Kingdom delivers as a whole.
I think some games pick up everything and some games don't, but I think generally, they did a good showcase. It was just a shame that
There's one
there's
point-
always got to be something you got to be disappointed about.
There's one point Indie Gamer said there, because I was talking about basically that when PlayStation needed indie games, they used them, but when they haven't got any games to show that. So basically, indie gamers,
right.
he's put exactly, they use indie games to cover the time when they don't have the AAAs. Indie games have massive value at Xbox. They need to respect that, and it will diversify their range of games in return.
They did it with promoting the PS4 in the beginning. Remember?
They did, yes. They were the indie box. They were. But
remember, we're the champions. We're the home.
Removable went to WAS.
Development kits. We're going to make development kits easy for you to use. We've streamlined the development process. We're not asking you to use PS3 architecture anymore, right? What was that? Emotion engine or whatever it was they were touting. I've forgotten what the CPU setup was. There was a name for it. The SPU structure or whatever it was, multi-threading or whatever. And do you remember? It was all about leveraging, PS4 and indie games and saying this is the new home, the new hub. We've come here as the second Messianic coming, and abide by us, and we'll do we'll do you right. Yeah.
Exactly, because from what I gauge from Removable, obviously Xbox has got this image of saying we're for the smaller devs, the indie games, etc. And from what, obviously he won't mention names or anything, but when he went to WAS, it sounds like Xbox make small developers that haven't got resources jump through hoops to get on their shows and be part of programs.
Yes.
It's not as simple as they portray in the media to
no,
get into.
And this was and this was not just one developer. This was quite a few, because I was asking them about how did they feel about getting onto the ID Xbox, how they feel about getting on Game Pass. Those who kind of managed to get on Game Pass, what caveats they kind of had to utilize. Some could tell me, some couldn't. And there seemed to be a hell of a lot of hoops there for developers with little to no budget or very little time. And so for me, I can understand why there isn't as many indie games there, which is a shame, because there's so many out there that would be perfectly suited for the platform. It would be perfectly suited for the platform. It's just a shame that Xbox doesn't kind of expand upon it. They do. I believe they need to. That's one of their failings. I think Xbox does fail on
I look. I don't know if this is true because I'm not really geared up in social media, but the romanticism is there. I get that for indie games, but at the end of the day, there's no logical place for it in some businesses, especially for Xbox at this present moment in time, because I don't think it's going to drive the algorithms as, say, something like Fable will, right? They've got the most money.
It'll be ones that will the ones who get, as you rightly said, generate the revenue. Your Silksons, your trying to think of all the other ones that your Cupheads and that. Those will be touted.
Well, Xbox would have approached Team Cherry. There's no way that they made them jump through any hoops.
It's always about the company with the most money, the most talent, the most studios, the most influence, the most power. The fallibility, right, is that it's taken them so long to do it. That's the issue, and the fallibility of it has been their own, right? And because, as I said to you, I said a long time, about a couple of years ago, I said the only people that will the only thing that will affect Xbox is Xbox, because they're really good at shooting themselves in their own foot, and what this showcase has done is that finally that they're learning, and finally that they've taken their time to produce this, because this hasn't been 5 minutes in the making, right? It's been a long time, and I think they didn't want anything to impede that.
Yep.
And I think that a couple of the games, the Goddess of Power or whatever from Capcom, you could say that perhaps is an indie game or a smaller game or whatever, still made by a corporation, no doubt.
Yep.
Is at the end of the day, look, Nintendo and Sony for me, historically have finessed their way in terms of getting where they are today, where Xbox are using a bit more of a crowbar, because as I said to you before, for them, they have the capacity to engineer what they want by financially breaking everything, and that's what they're doing right now. And because they have to, if they want to remain in third place, if not climb that ladder even further, and they've got so much money to change the landscape of not just people but of the whole industry, and there is no cost implication or blame implication or any implication whatsoever to Xbox. It's such a small component of the overall beast, which is Microsoft. So, but hopefully that what consumers, I know people are stupid, but what consumers are do is really good at complaining, and they've complained enough to get Xbox to get their act in order. And I think that at the same token, if there is a big drive and there's a big demand between people like yourself, Removable, and the indie gamer and people that love indie games, in fact, if there's enough noise about it, if there's enough potency or my vocabulary is leaving me, in terms of not an outrage, but in terms of demand for content such as indie games, and not just that, you got to go buy this game, you got to buy that game, and you got to try this game, as in, like you're saying, is that placing it front and center with the right intentions, and even if it's not live on YouTube, but putting it front and center on the YouTube on the Xbox dashboard and saying, hey, look, here's a 30-minute indie showcase for upcoming games that are coming to Game Pass. That will go a long way, right? And it all it takes is a resource to do so. But I don't know why they're not doing it, but I assume they were already doing it. But it's really shocking to hear what you're saying.
It's, again, I take it with a pinch of salt. These were from developers, but it wasn't just one developer. So that's why I'm lean to think that is more truthful than what it is. I understand that there is going to be some barriers for developers, but I don't know. I just think, again, it kind of plays into this. Indie games are useful for only certain periods of the time.
When it suits
why make it so super easy when it's just
strategy? Yeah.
And so it kind of plays into that.
What it doesn't answer is that Ichiban in the first game, Like a Dragon, right, was found in a dumpster. That's how the game opens up. I want to know how the hell he's naked on a beach, Removable. And
drugs.
I'm not asking you to sort of reflect on that from personal experience.
It's basically a great party time.
And I'm saying, I want to just say the food dishes in Starfield are nowhere near as good looking as the ones in Zelda.
Again, we'll see how it comes out.
We will.
What, the food? No, nowhere near as
and
good.
The game.
Some of the dishes in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are unbelievable.
See, I can't comment because I never played
it. Tasty.
But no, I again, as more, I think I'm now looking forward to all the games that are going to come through, and potentially any new ones that they might wish to kind of keep up their sleeves and announce to us. But we're privileged. There's so many good games out there. We can't really moan regarding games. The thing I would say I'd moan about is being, what happens to your digital. He's got to sleep, doesn't he?
Stubbs is making an indie game. Now you can infer what you want from this game, but it's called Medical Relations.
I am not saying a word.
And he's got a sequel coming out called Horizontal Refreshments. Stubbs, would you care to comment? Lord Stubbs?
No. I'm under NDA.
His own NDA.
Doesn't surprise me.
He's under his own NDA. But
no direct access.
I thought you two would have been more excited about Like a Dragon part 2.
I need to play the first one, you see.
Exactly.
Why is it that we hear that line every single week?
I need to
every,
go and play
every
Yakuza's.
few minutes?
Because apparently
It's
Yakuza's main
removable.
storylines are not that long. So I should just crack on with them. Because I looked at Persona 5, it's 101 hours just for complete the main campaign. 101 hours.
I thought a lot more than that.
143
exactly.
hours for completionist.
Yeah, but that's probably just not. Is that rushing through, not doing any of the side quests?
Yeah, that's the main campaign only.
Yeah, I did most of the game. I've only got like one achievement I didn't get, but that's something because I have to restart the game and play through. I don't want to do that. I missed it, but it's okay. I did everything in that game pretty much. Yeah, I did do everything.
It was a good game.
I really enjoyed Persona 5, but I don't want to play another Persona now. You see, I'm ready for Silk Song or another.
Unless
like
Persona 6 is revealed, then he'll change his mind. That's a few years off now.
I'll tell you why I mentioned Like a Dragon and The Man Who Erased His Name is because, and I may have this wrong, but maybe Luke can help us out, but both games were scheduled to be coming out in early next year. Why would they release 2 games like that so close together? Maybe I'm wrong. But...
2 different teams?
No. But I mean, 2 very similar they're not similar, are they? Removable, but you get what I mean,
No.
right? Both from
Yeah,
the
I
same
do.
studio. Yeah, it was just surprising, but maybe I got it wrong. But look, I just want another game in the Judgment series. I like a Dragon. I thought it was fantastic. I think Yakuza's fantastic, and I know I say this on your show a lot, but the Judgment games are completely different, and they are fantastic and extremely underrated. And I don't know why they're both not in Game Pass, but there you go.
Price and money, I suspect.
No, well, you say that, but even though I own both games, you still tell me to buy them again, telling me that they're on sale constantly.
Exactly.
and given that they're on sale constantly, you think just put them in Game Pass for people to enjoy.
I don't know. Game Pass is it's a cash cow if they can milk it hard enough, but at the same time they don't want to milk it too hard, otherwise it's going to put people off.
You mean the cow will fall over?
Wouldn't say it fall over. Might just walk around a bit drunk.
So basically, what you're saying is that if it goes too far, we may end up enjoying Kobe beef at the weekend.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Now I know where you're coming from, Removal. I can agree with you.
But yeah, it's been. We all agree that the Xbox showcase was a good show overall because it was, and we had a fun conversation with regards to a lot of games, the way it was done. And fun discussion on the indie games as well. All sorts. It's always fun on this show because we always go into all different directions. We do with conversation, which comes up naturally, which is good. We don't actually. If you ever listened to this before, we don't plan. We have rough ideas what we're going to talk about. It's not as scripted as other shows are.
Basically, we're rubbish.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. We're just not as scripted as other shows, and not as regimented, or whatever you call it. But
Removable, he used a big word there. We need to find him.
I know. I've probably said it wrong, most likely.
Oh, you said it perfectly.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Removable Sanity.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Much appreciated. It was a great conversation. Looking forward to the next one. For those who wish to keep in line with what I'm doing, listen to what I'm doing, see the games I'm reviewing, you can find me on Minds, YouTube, Twitter, and on Xbox under the name removableSanity.
Thanks for coming on. And VJ, you probably won't want to tell people where they can find you, but if you do,
Not really.
On here.
No,
I
I
VJ on this channel. You can.
Yeah, you can find me on this channel. I was just going to say, I'm going to go and watch the Star Wars Outlaws because Luke said it looks pretty good, so I'm really intrigued to see.
Yeah, I'm going to try and do that now as well.
There's also a Capcom show or something, compact show, which is coming out. We didn't get to talk about Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty and how the game's progressed, but perhaps we do that next show. And my voice wasn't really great today. My vocabulary kept escaping me. But that comes with age, unfortunately. So I'll try to be better next time on the show.
Well,
So
actually, it's good because I'm
it was a good
actually
show.
I'm following the developer for the actual DLC for Cyberpunk. So if he does he does mention a few things sometimes. So maybe the next show will have some more tidbits.
Yeah, I just wanted to get, because I played the game at the beginning. I just wanted to know how the game's improved technically,
Mm.
and also what to expect from Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty. And is it cross-gen, or is it just for PS5 and Xbox Series X? That's the other question I had, because I had no idea. So
Well, Keanu Reeves did say for Xbox. He
yeah,
didn't state,
I
or
thought he
did he?
said Xbox Series X and S, but maybe I'm
I
wrong.
think. Oh no, I think you're right. I think he did.
From a technical standpoint, it would make sense. Less headaches.
True.
Mm,
Very
true.
true.
They've had a lot of headaches with that game, haven't they? A lot of
Yeah.
it.
Uh,
I think
and
that game was probably the fact that they were trying to do the original.
Yeah, the base
but
consoles.
I just want to say I really appreciate being invited onto your show, Mr. Stubbs, and looking forward to next time.
No, it's always
Indeed.
fun to have a chat with both of you. A lot of people do ask why we don't have guests on. It's just that we enjoy talking with each other. Sometimes we have guests on, but it's just not a centric show. We do have a likes of.
Well, I just want to be honest here.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, Removable complains that he doesn't get enough talk time when there's a guest on.
That's
So
basically
It's
it.
true. They bloody take all my
Shout
time
outs
up.
to Masuku. Hope you're alright, mate. Still been trying to message you. Hope you're okay. But yeah, I've been trying to message him, but I'm sure he'll get back to us soon. Just hopefully he's doing well, because he just vanished. That's all. It's very unlike him. It is.
no, absolutely. I just want to echo Mr. Lord Stubbs's
I think
sentiment.
he's probably taking a bit of a break.
That's probably.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hopefully that's it. But I would hope he'd let people know he's okay.
He's probably busy. He's probably busy playtesting Starfield for Bethesda.
VJ
Oh,
won't
that'd
have
be
much to
nice,
say
wouldn't
on this subject because he vanished without trace for a while. But it's all good now, VJ. It is.
I was seeking enlightenment.
You all good.
It's true.
It is. You were. But yeah, it was a fun show tonight.
Really great user interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
I messed it all up at the start, by the way. I couldn't get anything to work on OBS and the wrong stream and everything. And then we were going, it's not as good. It's not as good. I will try and make it better because I looked on the mobile version of the YouTube and it's not full screen for some reason. So I'm gonna have to fill the screen more, even though on my screen it looks full.
Have a chat with Indy. He'll be able to sort it out.
Oh, he's told me what to do actually, but I forgot to do it. But I will. I think I need to change the screen so I can see what I've done now. I can see the problem. I think I've got to fill,
Right near the end.
fill the screen. Yeah. But anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in,
Thank you.
and we will see you next time.
Oh yeah.